Good afternoon everyone, welcome to another video. I'm Maz and today I'm in Gloucester. And in today's video I'll be trying out this Honda Civic Type-R FL5. A huge thank you to Honda Gloucester for letting me try out this Type-R. I am very thankful for this opportunity as there is a limited amount of FL5 Type-Rs available here in Britain. And if you want a new Type-R from £47,000, there is a 2-year waiting list. And this particular used one is actually worth more. So a quick overview, the Honda Civic is Honda's family hatchback or family saloon since the 1970s. Basically it's been around as long as the Volkswagen Golf and the Ford Escort. And this particular car is the 11th generation, known as the FL, or in this case the FL5. And the Type-R name was introduced in the 90s as their performance division, as seen with the NSX Type-R, the Integra Type-R, the Accord Type-R, and of course the Civic Type-R, starting off with the EK9 from Japan, the Swindon-built EP3 and FN2, the Japanese-built FD2, and once again the Swindon-built FK2 and FK8. This one is an FL5 built in Suzuka. Unfortunately, the Swindon factory is no more. So coming to the front, this FL5 generation is actually slightly restrained in styling compared to the outgoing FK8. Personally, I was a fan of that car, but many people weren't. But I still like the way this one looks as well. So for starters, this red emblem here is reserved only for Type-Rs. And of course, you've got the Type-R emblem here. The regular Civic has a satin finish grille, but in this Type-R it is gloss black, and the opening is also ever so slightly larger. Also underneath, this car has a massive intercooler. The side intakes are smaller compared to the outgoing car. You got the slimmer headlights. Unique to this Type-R is this bonnet vent, which I think really suits the car very well. Coming around to the side, this particular car has black mirrors, and strange for this car is that the wheels are smaller than the outgoing Type-R. On the FK8 they are 20 inches, but in this they are dropped down to 19s. Behind that wheel is a small air curtain, again bespoke to the Type-R, and this gloss black side skirt, which has a little winglet on the end. The general side profile I think looks very, very good. Lots of small family cars are getting a bit too boxy in my opinion, and I'm glad that this 11th generation Civic has a nice sloping rear end, similar to an Audi S5 Sportback. There's one of Honda's boxy small cars. Once again, being the FL5 Type-R, it has this wing on the back. Personally, I prefer the look of the old wing, mainly due to its end plates. But in this, they designed it so it doesn't obstruct rearward visibility. Just like on the outgoing Civic, you do get this wiper, which I don't like the look of at all. The back, I think, looks really, really nice. Again, not as aggressive as the outgoing car, not as overstyled, but still very good looking. Interestingly, you do get a bar, but the entire light does not illuminate, as the center section is actually the higher level brake light. Just like on the old Civic, you do get 3 tailpipes, but in this the center one is larger than the outer ones as opposed to the other way round. And of course you got this gloss black lower valance in this Type-R variant. Being a hot hatchback, it is a performance car and a practical family car. Now, one quirk about the Civic that I like is this load cover here. Normally in small hatchbacks you get a parcel shelf which props up and you have to hang it onto the tailgate, but in this, much more elegant solution. And of course you can take this off if you want. Coming to the back, after all, this is a Civic. I really like the look of this red seat belt, and I also like the look of this red carpet. And it even says Type-R on the back of these bucket seats, which are standard to this car. Sat in here, despite having a sloping roofline, there is sufficient headspace for me, but someone much taller may struggle. Foot space is very, very generous, bearing in mind this is based on a family hatchback. Annoyingly, there are only 2 seats here. The center section is taken away by this cup holder, and there is no armrest. That being said, I do like the red stitching found on the door as well as on the seats. And this material feels like a halfway point between fake suede and cloth. And again, this material is standard to the Type-R. Unfortunately, this 50 grand car does not have air vents for the rear passengers. Coming to the front, again, the red carpeting is found here. And interestingly, this Type-R badge is metal, and these mats are fairly thick, and they do have a nubuck edge to it. Again, the seats are made of this same material, but interestingly the front seats are red but the back seats are black, similar to the old EK9 from the 90s. And yes, you even have Type-R embossed onto the headrest. And of course, being bucket seats, you can choose to have racing harnesses if you want. Now coming inside, you do get that welcome message, and the digital screen showcases the Type-R emblem. And again, this car is lined with this somewhat fake suede-ish material. So this is my point of view. And may I just say, this is a huge improvement over the outgoing Type-R. Styling wise, again, it is a bit more conservative, but it does look a lot more upmarket. This lower section also reminds me of an Audi. The steering wheel, I think, looks very nice. Bearing in mind this is a Honda badge and it's square shaped, I think this hexagonal center boss does suit the styling very well. Being a Type-R, you get these metal pedals, and of course there are 3 of them. Just like on all other Type-Rs, you do get this very nice short shifter gear selector, and again this fake suede is extended down here. And again, they are all 6-speed manuals, whereas the regular Civic are all CVTs. And on the regular Civic, the CVT selector is down here, but in this it's been swapped with this drive mode selector. Once again, this entire center console is different to the Type-R. The cup holders have been moved further back as opposed to being here. The center armrest is smaller, it's got this cutout here to make way for cups. And of course that does mean the center storage bin is smaller. On the doors, I really like the look of this door handle. It's not the most upmarket feeling door handle, but again, this is shared with the original Civic, and for a Civic, I think this is a very generous design. And again, being a Japanese car, this car has its door lock on the doors, but I think this is a better solution than what they normally have. On other Japanese cars, it's usually sort of merged with the door handle, and I think it just breaks the lines too much. But here, it looks very nice and very unintrusive and very clean looking. They even give you these silver finishes on the window switches. To start the car, you just press this button here. So this is what your home screen looks like. You get a very useful shortcut button here and a back button here. And the volume dial feels very, very nice. Feels like it belongs in a much more expensive car. But of course, you got your usual steering wheel button here. Again, smartphone connection. This is your sat nav. It's a bit laggy on the pinch system, but it is very clear and very crisp. And of course, we are in Gloucester. This car even has a place to charge your phone. And of course, being a manual, you do get a very nice short shifter in this particular car. This is a 6-speeder, but strangely, for reverse, there is no lockout. In some cars, you press down and go to reverse. On some, you get a lip here to lift. But in this, you just go straight to reverse. One thing I really like about the screen is what it doesn't have. The climate controls. it is all separate to the screen. So you got one dial for the passenger, one dial for the driver, and one dial for your airspeed, and of course your front and rear demisters. Showing its age just a little bit, you get an old 12-volt socket and two USBs, when most modern cars now come with USB Type-Cs. So that's the exterior and interior done now, so let's see what this car is like to drive. Okay, so trying out the FL5 Civic Type-R. This is probably the first review I'm doing with a manual. So put into gear, very short shift. The creep is quite slow on this one compared to a Ford. On Ford you can just basically drive out with your foot on the biting point. Visibility is really, really good. What is in the way is that BP sign. And off we go. Shift lights, really, really useful. And there's traffic in the way, so I can just jump to fifth from third. One very convenient feature about this biting point is that it's right on the end, whereas on a Ford you have to sort of dig for the biting point, but here it's right there basically. Around town it's not very, very loud, it's not very intrusive, so it's definitely dailyable if you can live with the styling of this car, which I personally like the look of. Rearward visibility. Actually, the wing does not really get in the way. What does get in the way is that rear wiper. So if I owned one of these, I'd probably de-wiper this thing immediately. Getting onto the Golden Valley. Acceleration is absolutely brutal in this thing. It's like I'm driving that 5-litre F-Type. And of course, being a manual, the drive mode selector is literally the gear selector. There's so much grunt I can still floor it at 5th gear from 35. Even though it's a 6-speeder, it still does 2,500 revs at 70. So if you plan on going from Birmingham to Bristol down the M5, this could be a little noisy in the long run. But of course, being in lots of traffic, it does very well in stop-start. And I'm glad I got to try out this manual Honda, because I have a feeling Honda are only going to make hybrid cars, and their hybrids are CVT only, which is like an automatic but belt driven. Being a turbocharged car, you do get that little turbo sound when changing gear. Just like on my F-Type, but it's a lot more prominent in this one. But yes, I'm glad I've managed to experience a Type-R for the first time, and a very limited run Type-R as well, since dealers are only allowed 2 new models for this car, and there is a 2-year waiting list. Alternatively, you can get a used one, but the used ones cost more than the new ones basically. Brakes are very, very smooth. On some performance cars they can feel a little grabby. Okay, reverse in this particular car does not have a special lockout. Personally, I prefer if they put a little ring pull just for that little bit of reassurance. Reversing camera is a bit low res, but at least there is a reversing camera. So yes, now let's finalize this video. Okay, so now let's finalize this video. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching me try out this Honda Civic Type-R FL5. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you are new, ring the bell to stay up to speed, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.